You've probably spent hours researching the perfect physics curriculum. You've read reviews, looked at the books, compared approaches. You might have even tried a couple. But here's the thing, if you're missing this one element, everything falls flat. Right now, if your kid is struggling with physics, it's not their fault. It's not your fault. The missing link is something that we all take for granted, but it's so different for all of us. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you some of the things that I learned as a classroom teacher that really makes physics come alive for our students. By the end of this video, you're going to have a couple of practical tips that you can put into practice today, and it'll make your physics class much more engaging. Hi, I'm Robin, the online physics teacher. One of the things that we come across is that parents think they need to find the perfect curriculum. Newsflash, there isn't one that is perfect. There's a lot of them that are really good, but there's no such thing as a perfect curriculum. So if the curriculum isn't the issue, that's not why our students are struggling. What is the problem? Why do we see kids that are constantly struggling? Here's the quick thing. We all know it, but we never think about it. Every student needs information presented to them in their preferred learning style, not yours, theirs. And right there is the quick disconnect. If we start off teaching a class, if we're not consciously thinking about all the different learning styles that are available, our trend will be to go to what our style is best, what we learned. And unfortunately, for many of us, that's just modeling what we saw for years and years and years in our own school system. But here's the thing, it doesn't take much to identify our specific learning preferences or learning styles. And from there, it's really fairly easy to take and implement a few of them, not all of them, but a few of them into any given lesson. Just by taking the time to implement those learning preferences that our children have will bring this course alive. So what I want to do in the next few minutes is we're going to go over the 7 major learning styles or learning preferences, as some people call them now. We're going to give an explanation of what they are and some simple tips that you can use to incorporate them into your daily plans. Before I explain what the 7 different learning styles or learning preferences are, I do want to refer you back, if you haven't already watched the last video I did about the different types of learners, check over here, there's a link, and you can go watch that video first, because it does help a little bit to understand the differences between being a type of learner and a learning preference. Any learner can have different flavors. They can come in, they have different preferences on how they want their information given to them. So what we're going to look at here are the 7 basic ideas, the 7 basic preferences that most people will fall into. Number 1, a visual learner. A visual learner is somebody who is going to learn the best by sitting back and watching somebody else do it. It could be watching it on a TV screen. It could be watching a demonstration in class. It could be, just observing the world around them. But that's how they're picking up their information. They may not need to go through all the different steps, but they just need to see it. Once they've seen it, they get it. That's a visual learner. The second type is, as you would expect, the auditory learner. And an auditory learner is someone who needs to hear or incorporate hearing to some degree in their learning style. Now, interesting thing here is auditory learners not only have to hear voice or words, it can also be set to music. In fact, many years ago, they used to talk about a musical learner, and it really is the same thing. This is somebody who may take a little tune and take some science facts and put them to that tune to help them remember. This would be an example of an auditory learner. The next one on our list would be a reading or writing learner. If they have this preference, what they need to do is they have to read it from something, they have to write it down. Now, you'll notice that the first three that we've talked about, visual, auditory, and reading and writing, these go great with a concept called guided practice. And in fact, if you look at our solutions library, all of the videos there are set up in a way that you have an expert problem solver going through and solving the problem. It's visually on screen. It's being done auditory. They're explaining everything they've done. And at the same time, you, the observer, get to write the things down and actually follow through on your own. We hit the three main points right there in one program. If you're looking for information on that program, links are in the description. The next preference you're going to have is something called the kinesthetic learner, or the kinesthetic preference. And this is somebody who needs to do something. They have to be working at it. They've got to try it. They've got to experiment with it. It might be nothing more than, working on a simple problem at their desk on a lab, but they have to be actively involved. They're not going to be sitting back and watching. They don't want to sit there and listen to somebody else bore on about this. What they're looking to do is they want to be actively involved in it. Okay, the next one that we're going to touch on is actually a linguistic or a verbal preference. And with these, the learner, in order for them to really grasp the concept, they have to say it out loud. They have to process it through their own mind. The process of taking it from maybe a written text or something they've heard and translating it in their mind and then relaying that information is what makes it stick for them. And the last two are interpersonal, which is going to be like a group of people working together at the same time, where they can bounce ideas around and come up with solutions together to solve any given problem. And the last one is intrapersonal, solo, solitary. The last two that we talked about aren't necessarily going to be super easy to change in the homeschool setting. If you are somebody who is an interpersonal, you want to be with a group of people and you're homeschooling solo by yourself, that can cause some problems. There are ways around it. You can maybe join groups that would allow you to collaborate, but these are something that you're going to have to work out. And as a parent, you may have to step in and fulfill part of the need there. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some examples of how we would put these in. A visual learner. Think about graphs and charts, pictures, maybe seeing a demonstration, flow charts, mind maps. All of those things are great for the visual learner. An auditory learner is going to need to hear what they've got or hear the lecture. They're going to want to perhaps set it to music, make a poem up about it. All right. They're going to do something that's going to be related so they can hear that idea. The reading and writing, I think we always hit when we talk about people taking notes. That's a great way to do it. And there are multiple ways you can take notes. Through our program, we do offer note packets that you can just go through and follow along and take your own notes, make your own observations, and it kind of guides you on that path. It does hit the reading and writing preference. The kinesthetic learners, they want to be doing something, and that something does not include just moving a pencil. Okay, you're going to be looking for activities they can do. Get them out to try things. In the labs, obviously, there's a lot of different ways we can get the learner up and moving and get them directly involved with this. And it can be anything from actually being a runner as they're trying to learn about displacement and velocity and acceleration, to somebody out on a treasure hunt, or multitude of things that you could do. Even just getting up and working on building a circuit, that's actively got you moving, your hands and your mind's involved. So there's lots of different places we can implement these. Now, a couple of tricks and tips I'm going to share with you here. As you start the process, for many of you, trying to incorporate the learning preferences is something you may or may not have done before. Sit down and talk with your child and simply ask, how do they like to get their information? Maybe they rank them 1 through 7 and just see how that goes. My biggest tip is don't try to overload yourself. For a lot of people, this is a new idea, and their first instinct is, oh, I must cover all 7 of these in a lesson. No. Take one, work with one. When you're comfortable there, bring in the second and a third. And I don't think you're, even as a professional educator, when I was teaching in the public school, I would not hit all 7 of these in any given lesson. If you can hit 3 or 4, that's always a good place. And the idea is, as you go through the topic, and again, this is coming from working in a classroom, as I would go through the topic, I would make sure that throughout the course of that unit, I did hit all 7. So one day I might do something that is going to be very visual, and then I'll hit the auditory and the reading and writing set on one day, but the next day they may be doing stuff that's kinesthetic, and then I have them work in pairs. So I'm hitting the interpersonal and the verbal linguistics. So you can always vary things up. In the world, we have 7 billion people, which means we have 7 billion unique learners. The trick to making any curriculum work, to making it come alive, is not about the content of the curriculum, but it's how we address it to our unique learner. Most parents that are homeschooling, especially the high school levels, you're out to get a very rigorous and engaging course. And this is one of the key factors to making that course engaging. You talk to them at how they want to be talked to. You give them the information in the form they prefer, and that's going to spark their interest. I know many of you may be thinking, well, that sounds wonderful, but do I have to choose between having a rigorous and engaging program and my family's beliefs? And that's exactly what I'm going to be tackling in the next video, where we debunk the myth that you have to choose between rigor and values. And in that video, I'm going to show you how to find the right balance. We'll see you next time.